Hey guys, how's it going? Oh, I love that view. Quit showing that there. April 29th, 2021. Views like that just like, yeah. Of course, that was probably one of the, and those views. And I got lots of images. Images keep me inspired. So, I'm not against any walls to speak of. Everything is going good. But I noticed, probably as of last night, now I didn't expect to be doing anything tonight because I knew I had to do my taxes. And I started doing them at work just so that I could do work on this tonight. But I also thought about this a little bit more and I thought, let's do this right and not worry. So here's the journey that I was originally going to take. So originally, what I had planned on doing was once I had all these maps together, and I have a bunch of them still, but I'm thinking to myself, there's a few discrepancies in them. I want to get them right. Doesn't have to be perfect. I have them. I can go with them. They don't bother me, so I'm cool with that, and I can always go back later. Eventually, the main thing that's going to matter is where's the rails going to be placed, and does this map line up to it? Those are going to be, I guess you would call them coordinates that, I guess, benchmarks is the word. So it's a term that's used. You'll hear that term used for video cards. There's a certain benchmark that kind of anchors to what the standard is and where you're at compared to the standard. Benchmarks are used in topographic maps and doing what do you call it? I was gonna say architecture, but that's not it either. I was gonna say map drawing. I know there's drafting. So that kind of thing. So it's used in those kind of situations, and a benchmark basically locks you into a particular waypoint that matches that you can use. Unfortunately, I'm at a point right now. So we're in the middle of spring. It's starting to get really wet, which I haven't been able to get the drone up as much anyways, nor do I need to, because I need some fundamental things to come in before I can really even start testing some of the ideas that I have. So there's different ways of moving objects in Unity. There's a transpose, which I am aware of, where I think it's transpose. I could be wrong on the wording, so forgive me. But there's a transpose that basically moves you from one spot to the other by just changing the coordinates. The other one is actually using force methods and physics. Since there is a physics system already built into Unity, I figured might as well take advantage of it and see what it does. And that will allow me to give it my best shot as far as having some realistic physics involved. So I've been thinking about that, and I thought, that's basically been the plan for a while. I don't know how that's going to entail for resources at the end. I don't even know as far as how the maps not having compressed images is going to come into play down the road either. From what I understand, the image sizes are the same. Whether they're compressed or not, it just has something to do with the drawing. I can probably easily decide which images get drawn near me, like an LOD type thing. once I try to utilize, get the game. Why am I saying that? It's a game engine, so I say the word game all the time. It's a simulator. I mean, this is going to be as close to a simulator as you possibly can get without being a train simulator, which it's not going to be. It's going to be a railroad simulator. I am going in with all kinds of different things, from basically being a train master, yard master, dispatcher, the whole thing. It's all going to be part of it. It's all going to be integrated. You're going to be able to look at the demand that comes up. Like, I'll give you an example. And I want to talk about it tonight because I want to just, it's the end of a week. I've got to think about things a little bit. I could be working on it. I wasn't planning on working on it tonight, so that was the good thing. And once I started doing my taxes, the site's down. So I can't do my taxes online, which kind of defeats the purpose of doing my taxes online because it's giving me headaches tonight for some reason. Which is always lovely, but that's the way it is. So I'm not getting around it tonight, and I don't feel like going through tech support and all that other horse shit. I'd rather be a little late with my taxes and deal with it. So hopefully I get it tomorrow done at lunch. But anyways, enough of my issues. That's what happens when you procrastinate. Procrastination's bad. I'm very guilty of it. So I'm not procrastinating as far as not getting back down to it tonight. I just wanted to explain why you may not see me on YouTube for the next little while. I'm still going to be, I'm at work, so I'm capable of reading the forums and doing other things. One of the things that I want to try to get good at, because I put the call out there for a little bit. I need basic elements that I can work with and test. And I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure how to do it unless I do it myself. At this point, it seems as though, like, I've used some of Scott's models and I can't separate them, or at least I don't know how I'm separating them. So I'm not sure what's going on there. So what I wanted to do then, there's a couple things that I want, and one of the easiest things that I could possibly do is, well, I shouldn't say the easiest thing I possibly do, but one of the things that I'm going to definitely need the most if I'm to do the plan I'm thinking of is to create rails. Don't need the ties, they can stay where they are. I just need the rails. The rails are very important because they are going to be the guiding factor and hopefully will allow the physics to work properly, so that if I have proper rails and proper wheel sets, the wheels will, within the laws of physics, allow me to apply force to those wheels and basically see how it goes. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. Derail Valley, for example. I think Derail Valley, and I don't know what that's built in, and I'm not worried about it, but if you've ever noticed with Derail Valley, it has a physics model so that eventually you can derail a train. I'm not out to derail a train, per se, but those things can happen. And what I'm looking at probably doing is, if you are operating a train, and I'm even going to probably put the probability of the AI that it can happen, but it's going to be such a small number that it may never ever come up. Like, it's going to be very, very extremely minute. I haven't heard of the last time. They've happened in my area a few times for various reasons. Um, Sometimes it's track conditions, sometimes it's, you know, there's been, I think there was driver error the one time, uh, and then there was another one where, yeah, I think it was operator error in the yard as well. It happens. So I want that to be a possibility because if a derailment occurs, I want to be able to utilize a contingency plan. So I'm looking at big things. So I'm thinking big on this. This is something that they don't recommend doing in Unity. And I'm not saying as far as the game engine. They don't recommend, if I'm just getting used to Unity, they do not recommend you going for a big project. They recommend you going for small ones. And I'm like, I don't want to write small ones. Because number one, I do have the programming experience. And number two, I feel I could learn more by making errors and then figuring out how to correct them. That's my own personal feelings. So I'm going against a lot of opinion out there that says, no, you should start small. Start small and work your way up. So far, I have dodged quite a few bullets, and I've been able to get it to now where I got images showing. I know how to connect them. I feel relatively confident in that, so that's good. Things are looking good on that front. It is still spring, and the reason why I say it's still spring, if you look at the trees in the winter, you're not getting a full set of leaves. And I think it's important for me to get that. It's not, it's not life or death, but it's still important for me to get that. So I need to work on, I'm going to go into 3D Builder. I'm going to see if I can build some rails tonight. And see if I can place those as objects in the game. Then I'm going to start using some primitives. I'll start off with some primitives first to react with the actual objects. If I have a hard time doing the objects right away, I may do some tests with primitives alone. Primitives are objects that are already in Unity, but they are very primitive. I mean, we're talking rectangles, not rectangles, cubes, which you can stretch to any length or width. It's what I'm using for my quote-unquote rail length guide right now for the maps. And then there's spears, so you can have spears. There's also cylinders as well. So the cylinders, I could create a cylinder. I could probably create a what do you call it? I could probably create a truck set out of cylinders. I don't see why I would have an issue doing that, because you can create multiple components together. So you do the one cylinder, like the small one for the inner flange, and then the outer flange, you just create another cylinder. So I think I could do that. The problem that I see lying with just using primitives is I'm going to come across the rail, which is curved towards the top. And I can't think of a primitive that would allow me to do that. I could just go with a rectangle or a T-shaped and try it that way and see if that I can fit it in that way. I may do that actually, and just try it. But I do want to try 3D Builder first. Take a look at the program. See, first of all, just see. I want to see the dimensions first. I may go back in it, try the primitives out. If I get something going to the point where I'm actually moving primitive objects or getting something going, even if it's not 100% pretty, because that's the one thing in Unity they teach you. Do not make all these pretty objects and get the workflow in there, get the objects in there. Don't try to go for all these great 3D objects right away. And I can see why that's important. You want to get the gameplay, you want to get the objects in there, you want to get things working with primitives if you possibly can, then worry about using them as placeholders, then worry about changing them later. So I might go that route tonight. I might just go right back in there and try some primitives out once I've got I'm gonna get the schematics together, get some schematic sheets of the rail widths and the flanges as well. See if I can all fit it together. Tested a few physics models out. See if I like it. If I like it, then just add it to the map, and we'll go from there. I'll make some primitive cars, like these rectangular cars like this, and try that out. It doesn't have to be as stunning. I don't know how to do all that stuff yet. I'm a long ways away from that. But once I have that, then at least I'm going somewhere. And the most important thing is going to be the gameplay. Yes, I've been focusing on trying to get the ground map very photorealistic, something that looks really cool from above. That's important for me. I want to have that looking good, and to me, it doesn't take much to get it that way. I have the ability to use the drone, get nice overhead shots in nice detail, take advantage of it, and that's the way I look at it right now, and especially when I can take the image and then play around with it. Now, I'm going to tell you, before I end this off here, let me just check the comments on that before I switch gears. Yeah, everybody's asleep again. But like I said, they want to see results. They want to hear me talk, and I don't blame them. But I just wanted to make sure that this one was out here. I can't tell you how much I think about this and how much I am motivated by doing this. And that may, sometimes I ask myself, okay, am I saying that to try to just pump myself up because I have doubts? That's possible. Am I doing that because, every part of me that is scared, the easy way is just for me to quit and just download somebody else's stuff. It's very easy for me to just say, yeah, I can just download somebody else's stuff. Nobody cares anyways, right? And that's easy to say, but and I mean, yeah, that's the easy way. I could take that way. My son falls asleep when I'm trying to code, so he's a big part of my life right now. That ain't changing. As long as he needs me in his life right now, he's not 13 yet. He's still 12. He'll be 13 this summer. As long as he still needs me, he comes first. So, if he's going to fall asleep doing it, hey, I ain't going to bother wasting his time. We're going to go do something else. So, is it easy for me? Because I look at Unity and there's other things that I could be doing too. And perhaps there is. Perhaps I can try out different things in Unity and not worry about pushing the time on this. I do want to, because I wanted this yesterday. I wanted this last year. I wanted this 5 years ago. Hell, I wanted this longer than that. But I never really knew how I can do it. I've already learned so much. I'm not giving up on what I've learned. I've already accomplished enough. I've already done things that I tried a little bit and didn't think were possible, and now all of a sudden I'm stringing maps together where the maps look better than Freight Yard Manager. They're my maps. I own them. They're pictures that I've taken. So basically, they're my images. I can produce them. I can send them with a copy, and all these images you're seeing, these are my images. So whether or not I'm photographing somebody else's railroad is irrelevant. They're still my images. Can't take that away from me. And that's just one of those things. So, like I said, I think about this all the time, and this is the motivating thing. This is the one that where I wake up when I go to bed at night, and I'm just lying there, and for whatever reason, I just start thinking about RTS, and I'm driving in the car. I'm thinking of where I want to be, where I hope RTS is going to be at some point. The things I want in the program, the things that that I'm looking at. And I mean, I have big plans for this. Will I be able to accomplish them all? I don't know unless I try. So, yeah, I'm not giving up. It's easy to take the easy way, and it's just like, no, I'm not doing the easy way. Trust me. I've thought about it a few times. It's much easier because you only have one life to live, and life's short, and you can say, well, yeah, it's so much easier just to play the games and go spend $20 and buy something else that eventually sits on your hard drive that you eventually stop using. But it's different when you have a passion for something. It's something that you're really invested in. It's your creation. And from what I've seen from the developers that I've read for how they first got into it, that's the motivation I see. I see the same trials and tribulations that they've gone through, and I'm like, And by no means, like I said, I'm not at a wall right now. I've been at the walls. I'm not at a wall. I'm going ahead. Everything's going good. I was able to get a few maps together last night. I scaled them up nicely. To my satisfaction. Some of the images are not perfect. That's okay. They can be corrected. I can go out there and I can redo images. They don't have to be all the same size. I can make them smaller, bigger, whatever. They can interlace without causing any issue, and I don't have to worry. That's one thing I've learned. I don't have to worry about these overlapping images because it's pretty easy to choose which one you want to see by simply adjusting the elevation slightly. And I'm not using elevation. So that's the other thing that I have the advantage. I am not worried about using elevation. This isn't about sitting in a cab looking off in the distance for miles away and seeing the grade on the horizon. This is about looking above at your train that is within the yard and watching the crew and watching everybody else. I'll give you a synopsis of as far as what features I'm looking at here. So the settings, of course, is going to be very user friendly, not like RTS beta for Run 8. This is going to be fully graphic intensive your user interface. You basically go in and you set the industries you want. You go in, it'll pick you to the maps. You will get to choose the track areas where you're going to pick up and set off cars as either a shipper, consignee, or both, or storage tracks is another one. So you set up those industries. You then set up the trains that you want. The maps will probably include some type of file that you can use as an example. You can import that file, or you can take that file and change it to your liking. So if you want to go with what I am currently modeling as the prototype, you can still change it. It's your railroad, the way you want to run it. So what ends up happening is you feed all this data into it. So you feed in the times, the what tracks are usually used, what kind of blocking is usually used, the whole thing. Basically, everything that you would come to expect The crews, what territories are they running out of? Like tonight, I posted a message over on TrainSim because I'm curious about spareboard crews, and I'm already foreseeing the picture in my head as to what the simulator is going to be like when somebody first starts. How is it going to walk the person through? So I'm looking at walkthroughs. So I visualize walkthroughs a lot. And visualizing the walkthrough is very simple. Like I said, Trainmaster, overall, basically how the railroad is to be run. He's basically in charge of, chief dispatcher, you name it. I'm calling the role Trainmaster, basically making sure that the trains are all set up according to the traffic plan, customers are being served, etc. And, basically going about that business. Then it comes down to the yardmaster. It goes down from the dispatchers who dispatch the trains, the yardmasters who marshal the yards, the local crews, the train crews, and what they do. All of it can be AI. All of it can run in real time. There will be the option, I believe, to fast forward time as well. However, there's ways of patterning a line for your own characteristics. For example, if I generally am available at between 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock on most nights, what I can do is I can have the program running in the background. Although I have a noisy fan, so I'm not 100% sure about that one. It's not that noisy, but it's got a little high-pitched noise to it where, if I'm sleeping, sometimes it would bother me. So I don't know how I'm going to do that, or if I'm going to do that, or whatever. Maybe eventually get something white noise in my room again like I used to. But, and that would take away from that sound. But something where if you can run the whole thing, or you can catch up with time, run certain hours, and run it the way you want to run it. But you go in, if you're first getting in, once you've done all the setup and you go in, it'll start generating all the data based on those patterns. You're going to start off with a route that has no cars on it, no engines. So everything is going to be all about the demand of the customers. From there, you're going to start getting requests for certain cars to come in. You're going to need certain empties that come in, but you're also going to need certain crews because trains are coming in from various interchanges. In Niagara, for example, our crews are based out of Port Robinson. So what they do is the territory that they run for CN is they're all based out of Port Robinson, and all of them have qualifications to run between Buffalo and Toronto. So they're all qualified to run on all the lines between Buffalo and Toronto that they would operate on. What's interesting, and like I said, I walk through these things. When I started walking through how things would first start out, I realized, well, if you are basing crews out of Niagara and all the engines have to come in off territory, what that means is somebody has to bring the engines down. So I thought about spare boards, and then I thought, well, I don't know if there are Toronto crews that would actually come down based out of Toronto, or if they would be taxied up from Niagara to Toronto to recrew a train, or basically crew a train to come back into Niagara. I don't know how they would do that, to be quite honest. It's an interesting way of looking at it, and I kind of thought about that, how I don't want to go about doing that. But anyways, that's the way I look at it. So the way you can start the sim is it would first take the system date and time from your computer. You then have the choice. You can let it go at that particular time, or you can have an offset. So for example, let's say, again, I like to run it between, say, 9 and 11 most nights, Monday to Friday. But a lot of trains run in the morning or during the day. Now, some do run at night, but aren't necessarily in the area. So generally speaking, it kind of dies down between 4 and 8. There's really no action taking place. There's lulls in the afternoon of action as well between different crews. And overnight, there's hardly anything other than the overnight, the late night crew that comes back from the States, brings back some cars into Port Robinson, and it just makes up for the next day's 422. So I thought about that, and I thought, well, maybe it would be easier or more beneficial that I have, instead of, if I start, say, at 9 o'clock at night, it's kind of 12-hour offset, or I put in a 12-hour offset so that it actually acts as this is 9 a.m., or like, say, it's 10:12 Eastern right now as I'm doing this. So it's actually, if I have a 12-hour offset, it's actually, on a Thursday here, it's actually 10:12 in the morning on a Thursday. So I put a 12-hour differential. What that means is most nights that I come to run, I'm going to be running in the daylight. What that also means is to run night time conditions or evening conditions, it's not going to match with the current schedule. Now, what about the current schedule? Do you need to run by the current prototypical schedule? The answer is no. They change schedules all the time. CN does in particular. I mean, they have their schedules, but it can be adapted. Likewise, you have the ability to do so. You can take whatever scheduled plan there is, and you can alternate the schedules. You can have extras called up based on demand. So what would happen is, the one plan in Port Robinson, for example, likes to have a lot of empties available, and so do some of the short lines. So what's gonna be required right away is probably an extra train, or at least the amount of those cars on the regular daily train that comes from Toronto. You're going to need all these empties to come in and populate all those yards for supply yards, for the empty supplies. And you've got that, so that's cool. It orders that up. You decide as far as, like, again, in the settings, how many crews you have, how many trains, you want to run, etc. If you want to run more, less, whatever. I mean, you don't have to run 2-mile trains. You could say, okay, well, this is my railroad. I'm going to run 4 1-mile trains, or be like CP and run 8 half-mile trains. CP does it a little bit differently. We're not sure why. I mean, the grade's relatively the same, but they do have a tougher grade at one section. So I imagine, I don't know why they don't use the helpers as much, but perhaps they're short on power. I don't know. But they favor the smaller crews. Maybe it's because of a siding someplace that they need smaller trains because they can't run long trains like CN does for some reason. So that's the way I look at it. And I feed this information constantly in my head as to how I envision this to be. So because I'm feeding that information constantly and working through in my mind how I picture RTS to be, it's a huge part. This isn't a pipe dream for me. This is what I want it to be. It's within my grasp. I don't know what the possibilities are. I don't know what the limits are because I've never tested them. They're to be tested. And I'm up for that challenge. I'm up to test those challenges. I don't think this is, it's not like I'm building a full-blown simulator or a full-blown train simulator with a lot of assets and graphics and all this other stuff. It's really going to come down to there's going to be a lot more quote-unquote gameplay, if you will, in the simulation where you can have a lot of different moving parts. Pardon the pun, but you'll have a lot of different positions that will be working together. So if you want to dispatch, you can dispatch. You can take over and you can dispatch. If you want to run trains, you can run trains. If you want to watch it, do it everything on its own, you can do that too because the AI is going to do it. Now, is the AI is going to be as smart as the humans? The AI is only going to be as smart as the commands it knows. So no, the AI is not going to be smart than most seasoned humans because there's an intuitive factor that I don't believe I have the capabilities of programming in the AI. You're talking advanced level AI. You're talking a lot of processing power. The more commands that have to be run, the more decisions that have to be made, etc. That all's going to play in as well. In the overall number of trains that can be run, the overall worlds, you name it. So those things are, it's 10:17. I'm just blabbing, but you can see I've thought about this thoroughly, and so far I'm on my way. Like I said, is it as fast as I'd want it? No. Would I would I change anything? Would I change anything I'm doing right now? Not really. I'm doing basically what I want to do. So, nah, it is what it is. I'm just going to have to, take it in stride, learn as much as I can as I'm going along, and hopefully it all sticks and every single wall I face or every single little setback I face, this is still my baby. I got the control over this. I'm the one in control. You know what I mean? It's not, and like I said, I know how it may sound. It may sound like I'm trying to talk myself into doing this, and of course I am. I'm trying to prep myself up as well. But at the same time, I want to let you know that I'm not giving up on this. I have no intentions on giving up on this. Not when you think about this every day. I think about RTS several times a day. So it's a part of me. It's what I'm about. But if you see me off of YouTube, I don't want you to think, if you are following and wondering, well, I guess he gave up on this one, or I guess he quit this one. If I quit or if I gave up, I'll let you know. I'm not ashamed to admit that I quit again. I've quit things before. It's not a big deal. I don't see why I have any reason to quit other than taking the easy route. And the easy route is not going to give me what I really want. There's not a simulator out there that can do what I plan on doing. So that's the way I look at it, and that's the way I want it. And that's the plan. As ambitious as it might be, or as simplistic as it might be for others, it's my plan. That's the way I'm going to work it. I'm open for suggestions. That's why I've kind of kept it open for input and seeing what other people thinking. Of course, when there's a lot of other people involved, I get motivated. When there's not as many other people involved, I'm talking myself into getting myself motivated, because the only person that's motivating me is myself. Maybe my son once in a while, but I'm the motivator. I'm the one that has to motivate myself, because there's nobody else there to motivate me other than a few, online friends and others who want to see the this come through. So yeah, that's the way it is. And there's no money. I think there's money to be made, but this isn't about money. This is about passion. I mean, the money will come if the passion's there and the product's good. If it's not there, then at least I tried, and at least it's a passion. So nah. So anyways, I'm gonna get to it and stop talking here, and have myself a drink. And I got about half an hour, so I'm gonna research some of the tracks, see if I can do some primitives. Weekend's coming up, so this is my last chance, other than in between when my son's visiting with his mom, and he actually wants to go into some stuff. If he doesn't, now that's up to him. Our time is not about what I want, it's about what we want. So anyways, that's all for now, guys. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one.